They greeted the players at the start of this Ford Australian Open nearly 2 weeks ago, and this last week the weather has been changeable and unsettled, but Melbourne has ushered in its finest this weekend as the two top players in the world, Monica Seles and Steffi Graf, play for the first Grand Slam title of 1993. And a very warm greeting to everybody. I'm Cliff Drysdale, along with Fred Stolley and Mary Carrillo. And I suppose you could say, Mary, that the greatest rivalry in tennis ever, men or women, was Everett and Navratilova. And then along came Gabriela Sabatini, and everybody said maybe it's going to be Graf and Sabatini. Suddenly, a couple of years ago, along comes Monica Seles. The question now, I suppose, is it going to be Seles and Graf?
Well, Monica Seles has shown a shocking lack of protocol in this whole rivalry department. We're so used to a much more subtle shift in rivalries for 15 years, really. Chris Evert, Martina Navratilova fought for the #1 spot. And it started off, of course, with Martina chasing Chris, and slowly but surely, Chris had to chase after Martina. Then, of course, Steffi Graf came along, and she chased Martina until finally it was Martina chasing Steffi. I, too, assumed that it was going to be Sabatini Graf. And then Monica Seles shows up a couple of years ago, starts beating everybody. I mean, no sense of history, nothing. She just started beating people up. This is her 15th Grand Slam title. She's played 14 of them. She's already won half. She and Steffi Graf have a great rivalry going. I really do feel that. In fact, just last year, they battled twice for Grand Slam titles. This French Open final was the best match, in my opinion, of 1992. Graf saved 5 match points before finally conceding this match, 10-8 in the third set. She was down 5-3. She kept breaking back, finally couldn't hold off Seles. But this is Steffi's worst surface, and still it went right down to the wire. Now, 4 weeks later, on Graf's best surface, Steffi killed Monica. Monica was very much affected, I feel, though she won't admit it, by grunt deprivation. Her grunting was a terrible, unfortunate issue there, but still, she only won 3 games from Steffi. Steffi played great, and I suggested to Steffi that the rebound ace surface here gives her the edge, that it's closer to grass than clay.
Yeah, but still the court is quite slow, so it doesn't have the speed of a grass court, for example, but yeah, it will be a tough one. The last 2 times, like you said, it's Wimbledon and French Open and the Grand Slam tournaments, which hasn't been too often, but it really depends a lot on how you go into the match on that day and how you feel about it, and we'll see.
It's interesting to me, Mary, that as you listen to them throughout these 2 weeks of play, you know, it looked to me like they're playing pretty well, but the way that they are talking, they're not saying, you know, I'm playing at my best, stuff like that.
Well, I think they both tend to do that, Cliffy, but the fact is, in a Grand Slam final, as we saw so many times with Chrissy and Martina, the nerves go away, and great tennis usually happens. I expect this to be a really good match. I think it could go 3 sets. I'm still picking Seles, but I think it could be a war.
Okay, well, the fact is they are both playing pretty well. Fred Stolley, let's address this. If you take a look at the statistics on these two players, Monica Seles was just totally dominating everybody. In fact, as I remembered, after 4 matches, she'd only lost 8 games. So let's take a look at some of the other stats on her. She has now finally lost a set.
I think it's going to be a great one, Cliff. All this chasing around, though, you know, with Everett, Navratilova, Graf, Sabatini. The girls are going to be doing a lot of chasing around down there today, and the service percentages from Monica Seles, 73% of first serve. She's won 44 of 49 service games. That's 90%. So how you get to the net with somebody doing that, it's going to be very tough for Steffi Graf. Monica's only lost 20 games and 1 set. So it's going to be a tough chore for Steffi Graf today, I think.
Well, how about Steffi Graf? Take a look at her numbers, Fred. They're not bad either. I mean, she has not, when everything is all boiled down, lost a set either.
No, she's only at about 59% of first serves, Cliff, and I think today she must make that commitment to get to the net. She's been practicing topspin backhands. I think she's got to serve and volley occasionally, but I do think she's got to use that slice backhand to get into the net to knock off some volleys. She also must make a commitment to come over some backhands. I think this could be a good one, but I'm going to go with my original picks. I know you're going to ask me, Seles and Courier. Why should I change?
Why indeed? I'm going to make it 3 for 3 because I agree with both of you, Mary, and you, Fred. I think it is going to be Monica Seles, but you never know. Steffi Graf is playing some very solid tennis. Remember, the last time they played, it was Graf who won at Wimbledon. This is live coverage of the Ford Australian Open from Melbourne. It's a beautiful day, and we are promised an outstanding match.
ESPN's coverage of the 1993 Ford Australian Open is presented by Ford and your
Weather forecast for today is fine and sunny. Now, they are talking about showers later, but there is no sign of anything like that yet. 70 degrees Fahrenheit, perfect temperature. The humidity is 60%. Winds are not going to be a factor today. Court temperature as of now about 109 degrees Fahrenheit, which will get your attention. We are in Australia, of course. We're in the southeast section of Australia. And the continent, or the big island of Australia, is just about as big, believe it or not, as the continental United States. You may not know that. This is the final day of the Ford Australian Open. And we are coming to you from Melbourne, Australia, where they have one of the most interesting zoos in the world. One of the favorite attractions here in Melbourne is this world-famous Royal Zoological Gardens. It features the wombat, a lesser-known sister species of the koala. The animal, which is synonymous with Australia, is the kangaroo. This is Australia's largest indigenous species, with millions across the continent. One of the most unusual Australian animals is the platypus. This is the only mammal in the world to lay eggs. And then the male gang cockatoo, and the emu, whose males are always, the males actually bring up their offspring. And the kangaroo sister species is the wallaby. And finally, the friendly koala. This native animal survives on a diet of strictly gum leaves, and it's the most popular exhibit at the Melbourne Zoo. This is a live shot of this Ford Australia Open Stadium court. We are at Flinders Park, and we are awaiting the arrival of the two finalists, the two top players in the world, Monica Seles and Steffi Graf. This is live coverage from Melbourne of the Ford Australia Open. As you can tell, the roof is open, the weather is good. We've been talking about that for a while now. And Mary Carrillo, you could not find a better day for a women's final.
No, and as you can see, it's chock-a-block, this stadium. 15,000 people are sitting here waiting for this. Steffi Graf in particular, I think, will have the fans on her side. She has won this 3 times. Monica, of course, has won it twice and is trying to win a third. The match, it sounds as though we are live, of course. Monica Seles has just made her way out onto the court. Now, interestingly enough, since Flinders Park opened here in '88, only this woman and her opponent have won the title. As I said, Graf won it for 3 straight years, and Monica has taken the last 2. Graf is a real favorite here, and I think many, many people will be pulling for Graf and not terribly with Monica Seles, although she too enjoys the Australians and this country. But Steffi likes it here very much. She's staying at a private place down on the beach, and as I said, the heavy favorite is this woman here, but I like Steffi's chances.
Monica Seles, the #1 player in the world, followed very closely by Steffi Graf, who is #2, will battle it out here. Best of 3 set Ford Australian Open final from Flinders Park. They are both in outstanding form, as you said, Mary, in the last 5 outings here at the Australian Open. No one other than these two have won it. Monica Seles has not lost a match on this Flinders Park Stadium court. She has won 6 matches this year. She's played twice in this championship already. So make that 20 straight matches on a court that obviously suits her game to a T. The surface, when they originally built it, they tried to get it as close to grass as possible. That, of course, was very difficult to do, but they tried to make it a fast court, and to a large extent in that anyway, they have succeeded. The net result of the surface, it is very similar to the US Open, in fact. So this is the Ford Australian Open live coverage. The 2 top players in the world will battle it out, Seles and Steffi Graf, and we will be back with live coverage from Melbourne after we take this break.
Did you know that stress on certain...
When I hit a bad golf shot, where does the ball go? Morgan, what's on top of our store?
An international business class seat.
It's about 1:15 p.m. on Saturday afternoon here in Melbourne as you take a look at the #1 player in the world, Monica Seles, who is the top seed in this championship. She is the #1 ranked player in the world, of course. She is 19 years old, and this is the Ford Australian Open women's singles final. She was Born in Novi Sad, Yugoslavia, she lives now in Sarasota, Florida. And she won 10 tournaments in 1992. As a matter of fact, she played in 15 tournaments, won 10 of them, and got to 4 finals. Let's take a look at her early round results here, Mary.
Well, she didn't do any playing coming into the Australians, but she started out as though she really, for the first 4 rounds, as you can see, she had no worries at all. Dropped that middle set to Julie Allard of France, and then got aggravated with herself for doing so and blitzed her in the third. And then after she beats Sabatini 1 and 2, she was still, as you said, she wasn't like really making a big deal about her game, but Fred Stolle asked her just what she thought she had to do against Steffi Graf, and she gave pretty much the usual reply.
Well, Steffi's a very tough player. I mean, she has a great first serve. Her second serve is very strong. Her forehand is still, I think, far the best, you know, from all the ground strokes. Her backhand, I'm sure she's going to slice a lot. She's trying to come in more. You know, I'll have to play good tennis on both sides. I probably have to play some good tempo, you know, and she's running down a lot of balls.
Most of the players in the world have moved their residences around some, but Steffi Graf was born in Brühl, Germany, and that's where she still lives. She is not trying to avoid German taxes like so many of the other players. She is the number 2 seed in the tournament. She is ranked number 2 in the world. She is now 23 years old, for the record about 5'9", just over 132 pounds, and she is looking very strong.
Yeah, she too, she had an easy first couple of rounds. It was a pity that her countrywoman Claudia Porwick had to retire in the third round with an ankle injury. Then she got by Maggie Maleva without any problems. Jennifer Capriati waged a very tough war against her in that first set. It was a pretty good-looking match, but she was still able to get rid of her in straight sets. And then she beat Sanchez Vicario 5-4-2. She wasn't too happy with her form on that day. She thought she had to serve better, and I agree with her. She must serve better against Monica Seles, because Seles' return game is better than anyone I've ever seen in tennis, men or women.
So it promises to be one terrific match today. As I mentioned to you, it is just after 1:15 in the afternoon on Saturday, which makes it just after 9 p.m. Eastern time in the evening of Friday in the United States. Glad you were able to join us for this women's singles final. Best of 3 sets today. The men's final tomorrow will start just about 1 hour later, 2 o'clock local time here, which will be 10 p.m. Eastern time, and it'll be a best of 5 set match. And of course, in that, it'll also be the 2 top players in the world competing against each other, Stefan Edberg and Jim Courier. The head-to-head between these two, it is 6-3 with Graf in the lead, and last time they played was at Wimbledon, Graf winning that one pretty easily in the final.
The interesting thing, Graf is one of only 3 people who actually owns a winning head-to-head against Monica Seles. Chris Evert is 2-1 against Monica, and little-known Linda Ferrando beat her in the third round of the U.S. Open a few years ago. But keep in mind, Graf's only 3 losses to Monica have come on a much slower surface a few years ago. But keep in mind, Graf's only 3 losses to Monica have come on a much slower surface. Twice at the French Open.
And Linda Ferrando hopes she never plays her again. Graf serving. First point, best of 3 sets. Fred Stolle, meanwhile, has made his way down to courtside. 15 love.
There is a slight breeze down here at courtside, which will help the photographers and so forth down here and the public, but I don't think it's going to help the flows out there. You can see Steffi's hair blowing around a little bit, but conditions on the court, very, very warm.
There is the Graf clan, Heidi Graf on the right of your screen, and the coach of Steffi Graf, Heinz Gunthardt, on the left of your screen. He's from Switzerland, Swiss Davis Cup player, or used to be.
That Steffi continues to live in Brewer, Germany, but in fact her father and brother are watching this from Florida, where she has one of a couple of residences. She's got a place in New York as well. This, of course, is going to be a continuing worry for Graf. Big Seles ground strokes, and of course she's so good on either side. Very balanced attack from the baseline has Monica. Very early on, as Steffi's going to go to the Monica Seles forehand. Hundreds and hundreds of German fans have been cheering here. Originally, of course, they were expecting to be cheering for Boris Becker. He lost in the very first round. Michael Stich took his part of the draw and did well with it until yesterday, when he lost in the semis.
Tremendous opening game from both girls here. Steffi Graf normally makes a lot of unforced errors early if the forehand is not too good, but she seems to have found the range very early in this match, and that last rally, the balls were really cranking off the ground.
Deuce, first game. Game point for Graf.
This shows two of Graf's best weapons, her first serve and her forehand. Nice 1-2 punch. Gives her game point.
That's the first game, Steffi Graf. 1 game to love on serve, first set. This is the best of 3 sets. We are live from Melbourne.
First game.
Here in Australia, which is the 6th largest country in the world, we are bringing the Australian Open to you from Melbourne. The prize money for the winner of this year's singles will take home $280,821. The loser will take home $140,000, then 70 and 36 respectively. So close to $300,000 to the winner of this match today.
Love 15.
Double fault, first serve point on Monica Seles. The sun behind her when Steffi Graf serves her first serve game coming up. From that side, it'll be tough. 15 all.
15 all.
Showed you a picture a moment ago of the German crowd supporting Steffi Graf. Of course, there is no ethnic group that will support Monica Seles. She's actually ethnic Hungarian, although born in Yugoslavia, Novi Sad, just on the border. But she moved to the USA, to Bollettieri's Academy, after she played in the junior events in Florida one year. She was 14. Monica Seles has reached 8 consecutive Grand Slam finals. She lost the 92 Wimbledon final to Steffi Graf, and that's it. She won all the others.
First serve.
She has won here in Australia, as we've said, twice in a row. She's going for 3 today. break point. Actually, Monica Seles was just 5'2" and 90 pounds. This is 90 pounds when she won the Orange Bowl 12 and under juniors. Watch this replay again. She hit the ball hard even then. And naturally, as you can see, she's still doing the same thing. She's a lot taller, though, than she was those few years ago.
She's unbeaten on this centre court here at Flinders Park. Has not lost a match, as he's mentioned, won the last 2 Australian titles.
Another break point saved. One-handed shot there, Mary, from Seles that you don't often see.
Well, it's not often that someone can worry her enough to make her, you know, to make her stretch for a one-handed shot.
Yeah.
But she can handle them. This is a very interesting battle, the slice backhand of Graf to Monica Seles' forehand, and already she's showing that she knows she's going to be challenged with it, and she's come up with the goods a couple of times in this game when in trouble. Steffi, obviously, once she gave up that short ball, perhaps challenging Monica's forward movement, Monica replied. There's a little piece of rubber inside that ball, it seems, so they're going to retire that one. See, on grass, that play of Steffi's would have worked a lot better. The ball would have maybe skidded away from Monica, and she wouldn't have been able to scoop it up.
Game Seles.
So that's a big point, really. You know, Seles was able to save herself from getting broken. But this slice backhand of Graf's, I agree with Fred that she should rip over some more of them, but she hasn't played any serve and volley. She hasn't really had to come up with the goods against someone who's coming in and challenging her from the net. And that slice of hers, when she really rips it, does wonderful things on this court. It really scoots, and that can worry a two-handed player like Seles.
Steffi Graf reached a record 13 consecutive Grand Slam finals, starting in 1987 when she beat Martina Navratilova in the French Open final, through 1990 where she lost to Monica Seles. A remarkable effort.
I think the slice backhand that Mary's alluding to, I think if she can play that slice and knife it, make it bite, go through it, then it can be a weapon against Seles. But if she just plays it from the baseline, and this court is a slow court, as Steffi said in an interview, and the ball pops up and it gives Seles that little extra time, that split second more time to play.
That's exactly right, Fred. If you don't really knife into the slice, it will, not only does it float, but it actually sits up.
Sits up, yeah.
gives this woman a chance to really give it a ride. 40 love.
Woohoo! Closing in from mid-court, clean winner. Yeah, it doesn't help, though, to try to come over the ball off the backhand side when Monica Seles is staying back, because she much prefers that style of play. I think you've got to try to slice it in. Here's the replay again. Seles from the center of the court, clean winner. Two in a row for Seles, still game point for Graf. It's 40-30.
The longer a rally goes, the more trouble Graf is in. She knows that against Monica, she has to come out and pressure her immediately, attack as early in the point as possible, whether on serve or on return, or with big forehands.
I mean, it's shot placement from Monica Seles that is so terrific. She can whack them down the line, cross court, hits them flat, and there's virtually no way to anticipate which way she's going. There's nothing that she gives away in the swing with that two-hander. It's such a different, special kind of game.
It was a 68-mile-an-hour serve that she punished there.
It was a short second serve, though, just midway up the court. That allowed to come from shoulder height and just drive that ball.
High advantage, Graf.
120 kilometers an hour on that serve, trying to do the same thing with it, but not successful.
That's still not too fast. That's 75 miles an hour. She was a bit lucky that Seles didn't win that one. Seles, you know, she thinks every serve is attackable. Even if you serve great, she still thinks she should be able to stroke it back for a winner. And that's a big pressure.
Barely wide, and Steffi Graf holds on. It's 2-1 first set. This is live coverage of the Ford Australian Open women's singles. He'll take on Stefan Edberg of Sweden. This is the Ford Australian Open women's singles. It is Monica Seles serving, trailing 1-2. 15 all.
That's interesting down here at courtside, because I think the crowd support is for Steffi Graf, knowing that Monica has had her fair share of Grand Slam tournament victories the last couple of years.
It's the unforced errors, isn't it? Or the lack of unforced errors, really, from Steffi Graf that are going to tell the story.
Well, she's played a real clean, and yet another forehand winner from Steffi. It's still a young match, but Steffi, who plays a high-risk game, has only made 4 unforced errors. Seles has got 9. You know, Monica, there's another one. That's 10 for Monica.
And she's 2 break points.
Yeah, she's trying to, you know, she's trying to make things happen out there. She's taking the risks. She's going for some shots, but she's already made quite a few mistakes. And Steffi, again, challenging her serve.
And Ace saves another one. She was down 15-40 on her first serve game, remember.
Graf is really pumped up here today, though. You can see she's clenching the fist, pumping the fist. She's very quick between points, as she always is, but she is eager.
Steffi Graf has drawn first blood. She leads 3-1 in the first set of this best-of-3 set Ford Australian Open women's final.
She'd been 0 for 3, but she got exactly the kind of short return she wanted. Short reply, I should say. I agree with you, Fred. She was very much looking forward to this match. I was speaking with her the other day, and she said, I just think it's going to be very special. When she says something like that, you know she's feeling good about her chances. And she doesn't really give much away.
You know, she's ready for it.
The last 10 Grand Slams have been won by either Graf or Seles. Graf has won 3 of them. The 92 Wimbledon, of course, that was just last year. Also Wimbledon in 91. She also won the 1990 Australian. Seles won the last 2 Australian Opens. She has won 3 French and the 91 and 2 US Opens. It's a pretty solid record between these two, battling it out number 1 and 2 in the world for this Australian Open final.
Graf isn't staring at the Seles winning shot. She thought that early in the rally, Seles had drawn one long. Doesn't get enough on this smash, and that's what keeps the rally alive and gives Seles a chance to pass with the forehand side.
But it was really out of reach, and the reason she hit it with one hand is because she couldn't get there in time to hit it with two. That's the kind of shot you say, wait a second, if you can, you're not supposed to be able to do that.
Now, Graf, who rarely does such things, she just spoke with the lineswoman who missed, in Graf's opinion, an out shot from Seles.
That was a big point. 15 all is a lot different to being down love 30.
That is long love, 43 break points for Seles. There is no event of any kind in Australia that gets more international coverage than this Ford Australian Open. And you can see the photographers that are part of that dissemination of this great event.
Yeah, Graf doesn't want to give back the break like that, not right away. It's difficult enough to get a foothold, let alone a stranglehold on Seles.
And I have to win two more in a row, though. It's 15-40. Good serve wide. So from time to time, the two-hander is stretched wide, and it's just not as easy to get to the ball. That time, Seles paid the price. Still break point, 30-40. But there is the break. Seles gets it back from Graf. It's 3-2. We're back on serve in the first set. This is live coverage of the Ford Australian Open from Melbourne. We're going to take a break. That the top seeds play in the final. This year they will here.
Yeah, exactly.
Tough when you got to hit 3 outright winners to win a point, and Monica Seles absolutely stretched to the limit on both sides, but she made the point, got them back into play.
30 love. Jeff Pollard is the president of Tennis Australia. He's the man in the center of your screen. He runs the show here. Talking to him yesterday about the fact that they are going to make additions to this arena or this facility in the future. Putting 3 additional show courts, seating about 1,000 people each. That's long.
40-15.
Game point for Seles to level things in the first set.
Game Seles.
So Seles has clawed her way back, and we're dead even. 3 games all. First set, best of 3 sets. Women's final here. Live coverage of the Ford Australian Open. That's a look at the roof here. That takes about 20 minutes to half an hour to close, and makes a big difference to this championship, the prestige that it now enjoys. Used to be the kind of ugly duckling of the 4 Grand Slams. Now it's very much a part of it. The Australian Open stands out here on its own in the early stages of the year, January. The other 3 kind of clumped together, have drawn a great field here for the last 5 years.
Graf has to run very fast, especially against Monica, to be able to run around her backhand and give herself the chance to get a forehand. But it was worth the effort there.
She does, you know, Mary, but I have the feeling as of today that Seles is probably more tired at this stage of the match because she's had to do a lot of running herself, hasn't she?
Well, neither one of them should be tired yet. They're both in fabulous condition.
40 love.
Oh, yeah, that's not going to be a factor, but Seles has had to move a lot because Graf is the one who's really pounding the strokes at this point. Game point, Graf. Seles for the winner. Graf still game point. Seems like it was just a couple of generations ago, as you watch this replay again, that they were saying that a player who played with two hands on both sides, like you see Monica Seles doing here and putting that volley away, could never really be successful in singles because of the lack of reach. But boy, has Monica Seles proved that to be untrue. Again, the winning volley. Graf holds on. We are still on serve for 3. Seles is hanging on. This is the first set, and this is live coverage from Melbourne. We'll be back. The Melbourne area. About 3 million people, and it's the capital of the state of Victoria. On serve, first set, Seles serving.
Just one more pat on the back, Cliff, for the Australian down here. They've been ranked #1 as far as transportation is concerned. Takes the officials, the players, takes them to and from the hotels, back and forth to restaurants, back and forth to the airports, and of course the weather. They come down here, they can train for a month in. That's too tough. Great strategy.
The young lady, Monica Seles, is just barely 19 years old. She's won 90% of the matches that she's played in her career, and she's played a few. 242 wins against only 28 losses. A remarkable record.
She's only lost to 13 people. 13 different people, I should say.
Last time they played, these two, as we've said before, was at the Wimbledon final, and that was won by Steffi Graf, and there is the Graf clan. Time before that was the French Open, won by Seles.
The angle created there, that ball was no more than 9 feet over the net. Watch this two-hander here. Look at the angle that's there inside that service line. Nothing you can do about that.
Game Seles.
Monica Seles holds on, 4 games all, first set.
4 games all.
There it is Klaus Hofsass, who is a Federation Cup captain, on the left of your screen, sitting next to Heidi Graf, who is Steffi Graf's mother. Four games all. Little lucky. I still thought that Steffi Graf might have been there in time to make that shot.
She actually, the ball hit the net here. As it hits the tape, it runs along and fell off, and what we might call a dead net cord, but it hit the tape. It was taped down with the covering that's looking after the camera, that middle camera there, so it took a bad bounce. The cable was the word I was looking for, that ran from that net cam across the court. The ball bounced off the net, hit the cable and took an irregular bounce. That's why Graf didn't have control of it.
Graf is doing a terrific job. Fred was speaking about the camera. That's the famous flounder cam, as we called it a few years ago. It's actually a much better picture now, not nearly as distorted. It gives a great look of an oncoming net rusher in particular.
That's the cable that goes over from the flounder cam, as Mary said, over towards the umpire.
You know, those camera people never really liked it. That's what I christened it a few years ago.
Big point coming up, 30 all, 4 games all. Graf with the sun behind her really needs to hold on here. A break at this point with Seles to serve with the sun behind her would be a bad story for this German.
Interesting, isn't it? Monica Seles is still the one taking more chances, and she's obviously has more unforced errors than Graf. Steffi said she had to be patient in this match, wait for the chance to go for her winners. It's not always, patience isn't always a virtue against Seles. Usually you don't have the chance to wait around for anything. Graf is doing a pretty good job.
And Graf holds on, so she leads 5 games to 4 with on serve. They have traded 1 break of serve so far in the match. It's 5-4 first set. Half of Germany, Seles serving, leading, or I should say trailing 4-5 first set. But we're on serve.
There's one, Fred.
That's what we're looking for, a topspin backhand passing shot. That's the first one, and she's ahead 4-5 if she takes a couple more risks.
Again, though, she was challenged from the net, and that's why she went for it. Otherwise, she's going to sit on her slice, isn't she?
Exactly.
Down the line, she set it up with a drop shot, and it worked. Dangerous play. Graf got to it, but not in enough time to do anything effective, and Seles hits the winner. Watch this one here. Good play. Graf comes in. She's able to get to it, tries to slide it down the... Now she has no alternative, really, than to cover the cross court, and Seles knows it. Brian Tobin on the left of your screen. He was ITF, or is rather ITF president. Bob Cookson next to him. He's the immediate past president of USTA. Excuse me, Rick.
She had a double fault, Seles, only her second of the match, and then she put in an 82-mile-an-hour serve that Graf ate for lunch. Well, it's a little after lunchtime here, but still. A couple of set points now for Steffi.
At 15-40. First set to Graf. And I think, Mary, you'd have to say that technically she deserved it, really.
Oh, it was a terrific, it was a good first set from Steffi. I mean, it's hard to win two sets against Monica Seles. Very few people have done it in the last few years. I would imagine now that Seles, again, she tried to dictate in the first set, and she just made too many errors. So I'm sure she'll try to cut that down in the second set.
That's why, balanced by the fact that Graf did not make many errors herself, relatively.
I don't think you're going to find Seles try and change a game, though, because her game plan is pretty much the same. She goes for broke. I don't think she's going to try and rally too much. She's going to still go for the winners, hopefully cut down the error rate, the unforced error rate.
She says that, in fact, doesn't she, Fred? Just, you know, she has one speed. They say, how are you going to play against so-and-so or so-and-so? She says, I play the same way against everybody, pretty much. On the line. It is long. 30 low.
30 low.
I don't think these fans will see many long rallies at all anyway. Neither one of the players on the court believes in long, complicated rallies. That first set took only 39 minutes.
They hit the ball so hard anyway. No way to get in a real long exchange. Not backing down, is she, Monica Seles? 30 all, first game, second set.
No, she's got to swing away. I mean, the big surprise for me in this match is that Seles has had so many unforced errors. In previous matches leading up to the final, to this final, Seles had 33 less unforced errors than Steffi Graf. She was playing much cleaner.
That is long game point for Steffi Graf. You're watching the final of the women's singles at the Ford Australian Open. This is live coverage from Melbourne, Australia. We're at Flinders Park in an arena that was built just 5 years ago and is perfect for the sport of tennis, for which it was built. It's used for other things, of course, because it has a retractable roof. Graf with a game point. So Graf, who won the first set 6-4, breaking serve twice, has held first game, second set. We'll be back. Thanks a lot, Fred. I hope you're learning Australian where you're watching this. This is second set action. We're in the second game. This is the first point.
exactly had a ripper today, has she?
19 unforced errors from Seles is the storyline of this first set. Graf has 10. Graf's first serve percentages at 73%. That's very, very solid. Seles won just 33% versus Graf's second serve.
Talking about those unforced errors, though, you've got to give a lot of credit for those unforced errors from Seles to Steffi Graf. The reason for that is that she's going for broke, and Seles is trying to match the Steffi Graf forehand with the same sort of pace. And I think today Graf came out here and she's hit her forehand better today than she has for the rest of for the entire tournament, and that is causing those unforced errors from Monica Seles.
Just clipped the line, 30-15. Actually, I agree with that, Fred. To me, she's been hitting her forehand pretty well all tournament, really. And that continues today. Game point for Seles. Don't often see a serve and volley like that, do you? I mean, she's a very good thinker, Seles.
Well, that's true, and she didn't put in a huge serve. It was only an 85-mile-an-hour serve, but she realized immediately that it was well placed and deep and followed it up.
Well, she continues to throw that one out to the Graf backhand. She knows that Graf is going to slice that shot rather than come over it.
A half-hearted move to the net from Seles, and Steffi jumped all over it. Again, that slice backhand is doing so well for Steffi. And Monica, look at her. She's not tight to the net. She doesn't have a real feel for it up there anyway. And Graf called her on it.
Monica Seles holds on. 1 game all, second set.
1 game all. Love 15.
72% first serve, 61% after first serve, and then 64 after second. So it has been a very, very solid serving profile for Graf so far.
Great numbers for Steffi, but still, I continue to be a little surprised that Monica's not doing more. Her return game is usually much louder than that. That's a terrific shot from Graf, and while I agree with both you and Fred Cliff that Monica is being forced into a lot of these errors, she's still, for her to have 19 unforced errors in the first set is high no matter who she's playing. This, though, I mean, that's strictly Graf's excellence. That's winning her shots like that. 15 all. That's a pretty good shot.
Clean winner on the return, 15-30. The door slightly ajar for Seles. Not much grunt today, by the way. Nobody's talked about it, and you know, she has subdued it considerably. Oh, covering so much ground. Monica Seles, not used to playing a one-hander, to be able to control it like that is extraordinary.
15-40.
Yeah, that mishit, that was a forehand approach, was just slightly miscued. Graf didn't get all of it, and that just allowed Seles the opportunity to make the pass.
Break point.
Seles 1 for 3 on break points.
Graf has broken twice, 5 chances. So there is first blood, second set, and it goes to the world's #1, Steffi, I should say Monica Seles. We'll be back after this. A pretty day down under in Melbourne, Australia, as you take a look at a live picture of the Yarra River and the environs of this Flinders Park Tennis Stadium. This is the stadium court. This is Monica Seles serving, leading in the second set, 2-1.
Graf served her first double fault of the match in that last game to drop serve, so she'll be looking to break back right here. Play from Steffi Graf.
To look at Philippe Chatrier in the middle of your screen. He was president of the International Tennis Federation. He has been a great fan of Australia and Australian tennis. You don't take a look at this replay now.
Graf really looks like the #1 player on this court, doesn't she? Graf, so confident. Seles keeps changing her game. She's impatient.
40-50.
She's rushing some of her shots. She looks more like the challenger.
But she's still going to be ahead 3-1 in the second set.
Yeah, you better. Oh, listen. Nobody is as good a match player as Monica Seles. I'm not counting her out.
Game point.
Seles missed that one because of a different look. That was the first time from the baseline that Graf has hit that topspin backhand, and it was a totally different bounce to Monica Seles. She's been hitting that slice from Graf all day. That one came up over waist high. She couldn't control it.
Game point and game to the world's #1, Monica Seles, leading 3-1. Past women's champions here of this Australian Open in the last, starting back in 1983, Navratilova over Jordan, Everett over Sukova, Navratilova over Everett. That was held in December, and then in '86 there was no tournament held. Then Mandlikova over Navratilova, and then since then it has been Graf and Seles alone.
Two of special note, the Everett Sukova '84 win. Of course, Martina Navratilova was going for a Grand Slam that year. It was held at the end of